Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If there's a rumor out there that lawyers make uninteresting people, then Gail Schimmel is about to make it very, very, very hard for you to continue that narrative. Apart from being the Advertising Regulatory Board CEO, she's also a published author several times over.
That's quite a lot of pressure to put on me. Like, you're going to be interesting whether you like it or not.
Well, listen, for me, it's very interesting the fact that you're able to sort of interplay between the advertising world, yes, as a regulator, but also as a published author. It means that you're part of the creative economy that you almost regulate. But let's go back 2 steps. You're an attorney. How did you find yourself being at the regulator?
I got a job at the Advertising Standards Authority as it was then, quite early in my career.
Yeah.
So a junior-ish job, dealing with the actual complaints, dealing with the files. And it was just, for me, it was that coming together of that creative side of my brain and that lawyer side of my brain. And it is the perfect job for me. It really is. I have found myself in a very happy place in my work.
And I believe that both sides of the people you deal with would be the better off because you sort of understand both sides of the coin, either as a participant or as a regulator.
I think so. And I think I do know what it's like. You know, as a writer, I know what it's like to be edited. I know what it's like to be criticized.
Yeah.
So I know when I'm editing people's work by pulling their ads. I mean, it's quite a harsh kind of edit, but still, you know, I do know what it feels like. But I also know that you're a better creative when you are edited. And when you're working within the rules, and when some new eyes are looking at your work. So
I think for me, it's very important to have our conversation because I want, especially as we go into the conversation around social media and influencer marketing, that regulation is not a bad thing. In fact, for the greater good, it might be the most important thing.
Well, it's for, you know, we always start with, why do we have regulation of advertising? And it's because you have to have a trusted space. Marketers need that when they make a claim in their advertising, that the consumer will believe that claim. Because otherwise, what's the point? If the consumer doesn't believe your claim, you may as well not advertise. How is the consumer going to believe the claim? They're going to believe the claim if they trust the space. They're going to trust the space if they know that there's somewhere they can go to complain if they're not happy, and the place they can go to complain will do something. So that's what the Advertising Regulatory Board does. You can complain to us. We respond to every complaint. We don't take every complaint 100% seriously because there are crazy people out there. but we respond to every single complaint we receive.
I'm interested then when we start looking at the world of social media and social media marketing and influencer marketing, because as you say, you know, traditional advertising has a very trusted space. We know that I can call up Gail and say, I saw an ad on my television set. There's a word they were using on the radio on an ad makes a claim of the particular things, or it's advertising a prohibited item, and we know there'll be some sort of, you know, repercussions and recourse. This new space that we're working in, it's new-ish really, because it is getting to the point where it's like sort of a bit more than a toddler, you know, heading towards its early teens. There's a huge conversation around regulation of that space right now. I'm very interested in your comments about that.
So we are already regulating that space. We're very lucky in that the way the original Code of Advertising Practice was drafted, the definition of advertising is incredibly wide. So at each point when a new thing's come in, we've kind of had this like panic reaction of, oh, we better relook at the code, like websites. Websites, when I started out, everyone was going, oh, is a website an ad? And then you look at the definition and it's still advertising. And if an influencer is paid to say something, it is advertising. We're regulating it. We've got a relationship with Meta. We've got a relationship with Google. We've got a relationship with TikTok, who will pull our advertising if they agree with us. There is that little caveat, if they agree with us. They will pull advertising that we've asked to have pulled. And social media in that way, it's just influencers are just a new kind of newspaper. You're publishing claims in a different way. So while it's exciting, and definitely what you say, it's not a toddler, it's a teenager now, and we all know teenagers are the most impossible.
They're rallying out.
So it's a space where, are they listening to us as well as they should? Definitely not. Do we need to do more work around educating influencers?
Yes.
I've actually just had a very interesting conversation about, do we actually need a regulator for influencer content rather than advertising? Maybe we do. So it's an interesting space, but is it a new insurmountable challenge? Definitely not.
I think I appreciate that the way the regulator is looking at it is not as something that's this big unmanageable thing, because as much as it is the biggest proliferation of marketing that's happening right now, it isn't a new body, right? I'm interested in the intersection of your two worlds, in particular from a publishing point of view, because when I was, going through and preparing for our conversation today, I was like, shoot, but Gail, you are having to regulate, these new spaces like, the digital marketing, digital advertising, the influencer marketing, and yet you are a publisher, which you're a writer, and, there's this big fight between print and the death of print for the benefit of digital. And I'm very interested in how you view those two, especially because you play on both fields.
Should we confess that I have a Kindle in my bag and I do 90% of my reading on Kindle?
Yeah.
Listen, I don't. So as a writer, you've got to embrace the new platforms, just like an advertiser needs to embrace the new platforms. We're a very interesting conversation where those two sides are coming into slight conflict is AI.
Yes.
And AI is the hot topic in advertising at the moment. And how do you use it and how do we regulate it? And as a regulator, I'm going to tell you, I don't think it's actually that exciting as a regulator, because we've had green screens, we've had Photoshop, we've had actors. Actors, when they first just started using actors in an ad, someone probably went, oh, but how will we know the difference? It's just another way of changing ads. And as long as you don't mislead people, and we have a rule against misleading people, then what's the harm? It's just another form. But as a writer, knowing that AI is stealing my book and learning from my book, okay, so there's a little bit of me that thinks it's quite nice, it will learn from me.
It's the flattery of.
My turn of phrase. But that's much more scary. I write. Part of my writing life, I write in a very specific genre, cozy mysteries, and there's a formula.
And they are cozy.
I'm pretty sure that AI could write one too. I don't know if it would be quite as good as our books, but there is AI is an interesting one there. But from a regulator point of view, I'm not scared of AI.
Gail, what is, from a ownership point of view, because the conversation around AI is predominantly around where does the ideation, initiation, and production start, and where the final product doesn't look, is not done completely by your hand. Where do we stop saying, okay, this is too much of the one direction and not enough on the other? Because I think what makes people in our industry, especially as content creators, is that we don't know if we'll be able to own our stuff, because the legislation hasn't gotten to the point where, at least the IP protection laws, to the point where we can talk about ownership. Yes, from a regulatory point of view, and maybe it is the secondary question is, how has the advertising standards and the regulation been able to be so dynamic to be able to include all these other emergent media the way that others haven't?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, and that ownership, I don't know the answer. I don't know. That's going to be a difficult one, and that's a different side of the coin. Like, can you claim to be the author if you let AI write half of it, and where do you have to acknowledge that authorship? Where can you just go, well, I used a laptop and I didn't have to go, the laptop did the typing, where is that line? And I'm not sure from that point of view. I think that from an advertising regulation point of view, the reason we can be so dynamic to change is that at its heart, advertising remains the same. It is an attempt to make people buy a product or service. And our definition of advertising is around that. It says any written or oral communication, visual, written or oral communication that is made to try and make people use or buy a product or service. And that I don't see ever changing, because while the world is very dynamic, and listen, I'm 51 years old, the world I was born into and the world that I live in now, nobody could have seen. Nobody could have imagined. So we can't imagine what will happen, but I think something that will stay steady is people will want to sell things
Mm.
and they'll want people to buy things. And that's where advertising is.
And you promise as a regulator that as social media content creators will always have a job.
No.
Oh.
Sorry.
Tried. Thank you so much, Gail. Really appreciate it. I think for me, what I'm enjoying about our conversation is the fact that the regulation itself is not stifling the creativity. It's an attempt to make sure it's a trusted space and bettering it.
Yeah, so that's something really important that I want to touch on is when we first introduced rules about influencers, particularly the hashtag ad.
Yes.
The fact that you have to reveal if you have been paid in any way
Paid
or form.
partnership.
You have
Sponsored
to, yeah,
post.
all these things. And the first reaction was influencers going, but if I have to do that, nobody will believe me. The biggest thing an influencer has to sell is their authenticity.
Yes.
And if your followers start picking up that you are not declaring your paid partnerships, your paid for things, your product placement,
Partnerships,
whatever it is, if that your followers pick up that you're not telling them about that, that is going to impact your authenticity. You're going to lose your followers.
Absolutely.
In the short term, yes, when you say hashtag ad, you're going to have to work a little bit hard on your creativity to persuade people to buy the thing. But in the long term, it's your authenticity that is the only thing you own. The other thing I always say to influencers is you want to be taken seriously
Absolutely.
as a serious professional. You want to be treated like a professional doctor or a lawyer or an accountant. But all of those professions have to keep rules.
Yes.
If you want to be treated seriously as a professional, you have to keep rules. So you can't get to be paid like a professional,
But not act like a
but
professional.
not act like a professional. You have to be taxed and you have to keep the rules. Sorry, it's a
Oh,
real
not
job.
the tax word. Gail, I appreciate it because I think our space is the richer because the T word in our business is very important. Authenticity and trust is how we get our community to trust what we say, and in turn, that's how we make a living. Gail Schimmel from the Advertising Regulating Board. She is the CEO, a published author as well, and she's also making sure that the space that we work in is warm, comfortable, and trustworthy.
Damn.